So we're in the little back room and watching the commissioners, and two of them, not Simon Hare, but two of them are talking with Arthur O'Hare, the finance director for the county, and talking about how your money should be spent, which is a little bit funny since just 2 sheriffs ago there was a big lawsuit about how an elected official as a sheriff gets to decide how to spend his own money. So they're discussing the tiny details, and Arthur O'Hare says something like, well, I see 3 alternatives, one divided into 2 parts. One is, don't spend any extra money at all on the sheriff. Number 2 is, give the sheriff enough money so that he can hire at least a couple of deputies from $1 million. Or number 3 is, give him $1 million and he will have to hold on to that for a couple of years and spend it in year 3. Then Arthur O'Hare, in addition to the appearance he made in the newspaper, he now says it looks like there's 3 basic alternatives for spending the money from his point of view, which he told the newspaper was not a very good idea in the first place. Thanks, Arthur. And that is, you could get 2 deputies for a year with $1 million, that'd be $250,000. You could get 2 deputies for 2 years, which would be $500,000. Or you could get 3 deputies for 2 years, and that would be $750,000. And for some reason, although he's a mathematician also, he stopped at $750,000. And I was just saying to Mike, look, if you've got $4, you can spend 1 now, 2 now, 3 now, and that's it. No, wait a minute, you've got 4. Why are you stopping? So, what's your general opinion, first, about them talking about all your money, at second, about the $1 million, and third, about kind of putting some restrictions on this already?
Yeah, I called Arthur O'Hare this morning to speak with him. He had a seminar or a conference call he had to take, so I'm actually going to be speaking with him this afternoon again about it. He's responding, I'm sure, to inquiries from the commissioners, and what those inquiries are, or exactly how they're phrasing them. I don't know. I'm not sure because I haven't seen copies of those. I have had one correspondence from Mr. O'Hare, so about that. But it's if the money's come my way, I certainly hope that our office has the. Well, I know we have the authority, but I hope we're given latitude in how we want to spend the monies.
Yeah, I would wonder what your reaction would be, or let's say, why aren't they coming to you and asking you what your opinion is about how you should do that?
Arthur has.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's sent me a
So
couple of
perhaps
emails.
some of these scenarios that he's voicing are ones that you've already talked to him about, or?
No, I haven't spoken to him directly about these. I sent an email back to him in reference to, actually I started it off with what I thought, of different ways, 4 different options of how to do it. And then he's, made sure the numbers were, I'm sure, correct and accurate, and he's kind of spawned off of those a little bit. But I haven't spoken to him since. On Thursday, I spoke with him and said, actually via email, so I didn't speak with him. Via email, I said, let's talk about this on Monday, so so I can get a better grip on it. It was a busy weekend, so we haven't done that yet. But I did call him this morning, and we're scheduled for this afternoon.
You've spoken with him, but the commissioners kept saying during this meeting, we need to get in touch with the sheriff, we need to talk with the sheriff. Have you talked with the sheriff? Have they talked with you?
The commissioners?
Yes. Since Thursday.
No, not since Thursday.
And when your email exchange took place, and I'm assuming that on Thursday morning this meeting happens at 9 o'clock.
Yes, it does.
So it would have, in order for him to take the suggestions that you had into that meeting, he would have had to have received it and had time to read it before that took place. So it was probably later in the day.
It was not before 9 o'clock.
Yeah, there you go.
And you were gone on Friday. Right. What do you think in general about the idea that it was stated at the budget committee meeting, and you were there for some of them, that there was money stored in an emergency fund, which seems prudent, that could be as much as $8 million. The number keeps changing depending upon who you're speaking with. And now, there's absolutely not a single word from the commissioners or from the finance director about any of that money. They're only talking about new money that's coming in. What do you make of that? Because we're baffled.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know any of those numbers. I really don't. The 8 million, the 4 million, the 3 million. I don't know. I've been told that there was 4.3 million, something to that effect, in rural road funds, and that's what I was. And then there was a possibility I could get some of that, and that's when I made my request, and that's what I made it for. Was some of those monies.
We talked just a little bit earlier about a previous sheriff. He had a somewhat similar name to yours,
Yeah.
Dave Daniel, and that he had actually gone to court and got a judgment in his favor as an elected official. Look, commissioners, thanks for your input. Your job is to give me the money. I'll decide how to spend it. What do you think in general about that?
You know, I spoke with Dave specifically about that shortly after I came into office, because I wanted to, know a little bit more about how that process worked. And he won that initial lawsuit. However, I don't know. I think it was an appeal process or something that happened. It went to the next level after he had left office or was away from the office, one or the other, and lost that. So the appeal of the second go around of that initial victory, in his case, turned out the other way.
So did that start with a local court and then it went to a statewide
I'm not
court?
exactly
or something
sure.
like that?
He's asking this for a specific reason. 'Cause
I don't know.
we just talked with Wally. We talk with him every Sunday, Wally Hicks, about the charter. And one of the questions we asked is, how does probably county legal counsel, how does county legal counsel go to court, sometimes representing against the people who elected him, and change something or challenge something without a local court case? I mean, in one case, they had to go up to Portland to get
Yeah,
the
there's a case having to do with the commissioners and the compensation that they receive that cites a case that took place in Lane County Transit versus Lane County. And so we were wondering, obviously they went and referenced that case, but what was the what was the beginning? What was the genesis of that process? Did somebody come in and say, hey, across the board here, we need to examine how we're paying people and what the law is behind that? Or was that something that the commissioners originated? Hey, county council, will you please go look at this and see if you can shoot it down somehow? Because it's, stated in the charter that it's, So we were just wondering about
That's where the case is. About that particular situation, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
That's not law enforcement.
Yes.
That's law enforcement's what I do.
One of the things we've noticed is that the charter does seem to have more of an effect on everyday life and certainly everyday politics than most people imagine. You've talked with Wally Hicks about some of these things, about your funding, about the commissioners, about the county in general. Do you have an idea, do the two of you have an idea of where you stand politically with funding?
I haven't spoken with him specifically about funding, to be honest with you. Most of my conversations with Mr. Hicks, Councilor Hicks, is just talking about liability and covering, the sheriff's office, back, and that sort of thing. I've asked him for assistance with a particular security agency in town that has been giving us some trouble via some complaints and that sort of thing. So really nothing funding wise with Mr. Hicks.
One of the things that came out in the article over the weekend in the Courier written by Jim Moore was that there were some things quoted from the finance director and some things that were written as part of fact in the story by Jim Moore. And some of them are things that we've discussed already, and one of them is, well, you know, you really shouldn't be putting this money in there because it's only going to last for 1 year, and since you've got to train people for 9 months, it's just sort of useless. Now, you've talked about that already. What is the solution to that? Although we have talked about it, what is your solution to that?
Well, we'll open it up for lateral positions as fast as we can, right away, and try and get those laterals that don't need to be trained. If we can get them, great. If we get some qualified applicants, great. Sometimes, sometimes some of those laterals might be somebody else's problem. I don't want problems when hiring like that. So maybe they might have to be new. But these are mights and maybes. The money's, if there's money there, and we can create, try and get our own game going here, like other agencies that have permanent funding, Jackson County and Medford, that sort of thing. They're hiring, so many. We got to get into that game to try and get some of those qualified applicants. Is really the goal.
You specifically chose your liaison, your county liaison. It was going to be Keith Heck because it was before. Mm-hmm. You specifically chose Cheryl Walker.
I asked Cheryl if she would. Yeah, I also spoke with Simon here at the same time, but I spoke with Cheryl first.
So, however, in this case, she has not been in touch with you about this thing that they talked about at the meeting, saying it was vital to get in touch with you. Mm-hmm. Your reaction?
Number one, there's time. That's a meeting on Thursday. I was gone Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Today is Monday. Obviously, I missed our first meeting with you because I was out handling an incident. So I think there's room for those communications to begin, and that's also with Arthur O'Hare. So again, who I'm going to speak with and did already this morning. So I think it's just, we can't, some things you can fast track things or whatnot, but this decision doesn't need to be made or how that happens by them. I don't think there's any huge crush. I think there's probably another week or so. So that's my reaction to it. Is I try to work as best I can with the Board of County Commissioners. I think historically there's been I don't want to say lack of communication, but they've been butting heads with the sheriff, or the sheriff's been butting heads with them, and I don't know which way it is. So I'm trying to keep an open dialogue the best I can for the benefit of the county, because I think that's really, really important. And so just being professional and try to communicate.
It seems like being at the weekly business session last Wednesday, that when you got up and made your case, that the commissioners, none of the scenarios they were voicing were scenarios in which this works. Mm-hmm. They were all negative scenarios.
I realize that.
So my suspicion, of course, is that they don't really want to do this, and they are throwing these out there to see if they'll get any traction, understanding that there is public opinion that may be wanting them to use these road dollars to fund you, and that this is just sort of a political game to find out, put your finger up in the air and find out which way the wind is blowing.
I want to know where they're sticking that finger before they put it up in the air.
What's your, if you had to gauge which way the wind is blowing at this point in time, what would you say?
Oh, I think I had that sense that you were talking about too when I was up there speaking with them, that there was kind of a lot of negative. But I think it's really important, and I think they also believe, I'm guessing, but that they believe that it's an important enough issue that they need to be educated about the whole process of whether this is really beneficial, because they're, I don't know if it's robbing Peter to pay Paul. I mean, these are funds that are set aside for rural roads. We're going to be having deputies on the rural roads, so there's a benefit there. Yet at the same time, they have to look out for the entire county as well. So I have to advocate for the sheriff's office first and foremost. That's my job. That's what the people elected me to do, and that's why I went up there and asked for the money. The commissioners have it different. They have to advocate for the sheriff's office, for public works, to make sure that's up and running and whatnot, and they need to make sure they're going to get the best bang for the buck. I promise to give them the best bang for the buck that I can provide them if I get deputies. I think Josephine County, it's not an end all, it's not a fix, but it could be a bridge. Something good could happen here in the next 2-3 years. Who knows? So that's why I want to get, the sheriff's office in the game and get a couple people coming my way. But how it's going, I don't know. I think there's a lot of questions, and I am receiving questions from Arthur and whatnot, and he has been relaying back to them, I'm sure. So, but we don't have it finalized yet. We have time. Cooler heads prevail, right? That's the plan.
That's the theory.
Yes.
Okay, last question.
Really?
What's going to happen?
Wow. With this particular situation,
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I think I'm probably going to get a couple bodies. That's my, that's all I can hope
Is there
for.
a different way of putting that?
Well, with people, but personnel.
Yes.
I think I'm going to get a couple deputies out of this deal. That's my hope. And if it doesn't happen, we'll keep doing the best we can, which is what we're doing. What's what we're doing right now. And it's not the greatest from the aspect of what people see, but this is kind of just where we're at.